This will be the last one I do today, but this is where I just sort of peruse through my own mind things I'm thinking about that have relevance or value for those that listen to these videos. And I was just thinking about held to the density of the corporate state parasite. And the manner in which that term arose was out of an experience that I have of a time in which I call it checking out, which means I'm checking out of that density consciousness. I'm going to be with higher density consciousness in a timeless state, not held to a time clock. Naturally, that's going to be in nature, which means I'm going to be able to experience the more powerful spirit and the energies that the girl on the planet pushes. Okay, so there was a place, for example, I used to hang out deep in the wilderness all by myself in a tent, hanging out with the bears, because my particular bloodline clan is white bear spirit. Go pull on the paw of a bear and you'll see a heart. Okay, they're heart-based. They're mammals, right? Neo-based, light-based, love-based, first law-based. Okay. So anyway, I was thinking about, for example, this would be like between 2010 and 2013. I was living along the Northern California border and Southern Oregon along Highway 96, which says between the Pacific coast where the redwoods are and say Interstate 5 that goes up over the top of the, Mount Ashland, drops down into the valley, otherwise known as Medford, which is all basically lava. That's the bottom of Crater Lake that blew off. Okay, that whole area in there is beautiful country. It's higher energy. And Applegate Lake, where I used to live, was actually where they got a deep underground military base. I used to drive over it every day. But anyway, if you go over the top of that mountain, you end up on Highway 96. And if you go from Highway 96, say from where Wairika is, which is one of the last real cities, although it's not that big, before you go up over the top into Oregon, there's a place out there called Scotts Valley, Salmon River, what's known as Carter Summit, which goes up to around 6,000 feet. You go back into that part of the area, and there's a place there called the Forks of the Salmon, and peaks that go up and down, which is almost like being in the Swiss Alps. You can get lost way in the back of the wilderness areas there and never be found, okay, which is what I like to go do, right? Because you know that you're not going to be picking up any signals from any microwave towers, and allows you to be in a timeless state. So when I'm in a timeless state way up in the wilderness, 50 miles from the nearest human, so to speak, and then all of a sudden you want to go into town and get some supplies, it's like you can't get out of there fast enough. Why is that? Because you realize all of a sudden you're held to the density consciousness that the people that are in that city are living in and what they experience. You don't want to be experiencing what they're experiencing. You want to go back to where you just came from, which is deep in nature, which is a timeless state. So that's like a memory wipe, see? So you're still remembering the timeless state. Now you're coming into a state of lower density consciousness that's in a time clock. So that's a measurement of the speed of the vibration, of the experiences that you're measuring with a tack, okay, between where you just came from and now where you're at, and you want to go back to the other. So that's the same thing as knowing your energy niche, which is to know your wave vibration niche, okay? That's why Karen McDonald will talk, and I didn't know this word, by the way, what savage actually meant. It means lives in the trees, okay? Which means you want to be with higher energy. You want to be with a girl on the planet. You want to be in nature. So you realize when you look at nature, how nature unfolds just like a galaxy does. The spin, okay? The speed at which you're learning, okay? Means you're learning through the speed of the girl on the planet in nature. That's simple. That's why you can take a child who's 4 years of age or 7 years of age, take them for a nature hike, at least I can do that, a nature hike, and they can learn how the galaxy works, how you can learn at a speed that is just incredible, how to maintain and get your core frequency identity speed up with a 30-minute nature hike. Once they learn the power within themselves through living through their heart, through the most powerful neurotransmitter communicators there are. You can learn through everything that is being learned in now time through the entire galaxy. Okay? Because your heart is connected to it. Okay? Your heart is connected to the girl on the planet. You're connected to the cosmic sun of the Milky Way galaxy. And you're connected to Source. Okay? So add up the sum of the data of what all that knowledge means. So you're sorting all the data with sorting all the knowledge through all the teachers that exist. So that's how you're sorting what you're learning through all your teachers between the inception and where you're at now. Because that's what that means. That means that's coursework. Coursework in the entire cosmos. How fast are you learning? Well, who are you learning through? So the other thing that I wanted to sort of pass on, and this is just basic logic. Again, these things are so simple. Why does energy seek the path of least electrical resistance? If you're a free spirit and you're in one of these bodies, okay, and you're running at a higher speed, you don't want your juice to be held captive or fed on by anything, do you? Because what does that do? Slows you down. They're eating up your fuel tank. Right? That's why you're seeking the path of least resistance, so you can use all the energy that is available to you in the cosmos to go faster. That means you're not allowing anything to feed on you, but what it also means is that you're not experiencing any resistance. The resistance is lower density consciousness, because you're experiencing the lower density that they're in as a result of what they hold on to. What are they holding on to? More density. That's more mass density. That's heavier stuff. That's why you got to burn it off. You got to let go of it. Okay? That's the difference between a fear vibration and a love vibration. That's why the trauma that they did here and everything they do through technology, vaccines and everything else they throw at you, including all their corporate food industries, everything they do in mechanized agriculture is designed to do what? Create electrical resistance, slow you down, so that your state of consciousness is in alignment with their state of consciousness, which is a slower speed. Okay? So you got to burn off all the resistance. That's why some physiatrists, if you will, or physiologists, and a lot of chiropractors and other people who work in energy medicine know this. You got to clear the blockages, which is the resistance that you have in all your circuits. So you got to blow through all your circuits where all your plasma is running through. Okay? That means you want to be running hot. And when you're running hot, you're clearing all your blockages. It's no different than a motherboard. It's no different than a circuit board. Okay? You want to be running maximum juice. Okay? So that you're not being held captive. And that's what they do. They want to hold your circuits captive, put you in a resistant mode so that your density consciousness is with them. Because they don't run on the same highway transmission of communication through the neurotransmitters of our heart like we do. That's basic logic. Okay? They're lower density. See ya. You know, we got the rest of the universe we want to go experience. So we know how to do that. So that's why we come in here to try and teach others how to do that. Okay? That's why they killed off all the teachers here. So the only way that you survive it, this is like me as a child, is you're not going to hold me captive. And I know the difference between what they are and what I am. Okay? Because they do things with their consciousness and energy that I don't do. I would never do. Because it's forbidden. So that's why, for example, it doesn't matter to me how many PhDs you got, how many master's degrees you got, how many schools you've gone to. It doesn't mean shit for shino to me. What I measure is what you do with your energy. So all you got to do is look at what all these PhDs and all these Nobel Prize winners do. Who are they working for? Lockheed, okay? War industries, okay? Genetic industries. They're working for all the things that are forbidden. So that tells you a lot about their evolution. The evolution of their speed, which is the evolution of the waveform transmission that they're using to communicate who they are and what they use with their energy. So you know they don't get out of here. They're not ever going to go up into the higher dimensions. Okay? That's why when I went through their schools, most of the reason that I went in there was to find out how they were doing it. How bad is it? How bad is it getting? Because the measurement we take in the cosmos is, remember how I said in a previous video, how much light we're losing, how much light we're gaining. Which means how many students are we graduating? How many light warriors are we graduating out of here? Because that's essentially what it means. You can teach a 7-year-old child how to be a light warrior, okay? In which it can share with other students how to be a light warrior, which means being a lighthouse, which means you are a natural energy service provider in the cosmos. Okay? That's what she is, the girl on the planet. She's running a classroom here. That's a service. Providing information and data from which students can learn is a service, and she does it for free. She doesn't charge you anything to go to school on her planet. That's why she gives you everything for free. Free energy. It's like, Occam's razor, the least common denominator. The simple stuff, okay? Hell, I learned as a child, my God, she's giving us fresh oranges. She's not charging me for an orange any more than I'm being charged for a papaya over in the state of Hawaii. Coconuts, avocados, grow everywhere over there, naturally. The Hawaiian Islands used to be one of the largest producers of agricultural products, okay, than anywhere. That's why the Big Island to me was always one of the biggest light bulbs, because of having, one of the biggest volcanoes on the planet is there on the Big Island. Now, I know that Kilauea volcano, when I first got there, was still flowing down in the Pacific Ocean, but it's sort of settled down quite a bit now, okay? But I wanted to make sure that I covered some things. I made some notes here on, which was, sanity and unsanity. That's right. Defining it's pretty easy, isn't it? Okay? So for me, this is the way that I measure it. Living in fear of what love is insanity. Okay? So when you begin to realize how much vibrational resistance or electrical resistance that represents density consciousness, and you realize how many people are not experiencing love vibration, how come? They're in fear of experiencing that love again because they feel they are vulnerable. Now we get down to what I heard that one guy mentioned about being a sheep. It's easy to shear somebody in a love vibration. Why is that? Because they live in a state of peace. They don't do any harm. So for a predator, that means it's somebody who's living in a state of peace, and the love becomes what? A target. Okay? So when you're in a lower dimension here, like this place, and you have a reptilian that can't generate any love, can't generate any light, because it doesn't have any love for itself or anything else, and you have somebody who's a love vibration being, and we don't do any harm, you get the chance to see the difference. The difference between them and us in this dimension means they don't go on. We do. Because we're eternal. They're not. Okay? So I'd rather be a sheep and know that I live in eternity than rather being a predator and I don't. That's why they use clones. That's why they use technology. They're trying to extend what it is that they are by using that technology. Okay? Or being what we call body snatchers, which means they can jump from one body to the next if the vibrational match is similar to what theirs is, in which they can now occupy that vessel. That's a demon, because that's what they are. They're demons. So we got a lot of demons on the planet, don't we? Yes. They bred them parasitically through genetics. That's why there's so many of them in here. So how do you get rid of the demons? Increase the light. They don't like our energy, do they? No. So the more love vibration beings that we have in here to raise it, what happens to them? Your perception changes. Your density consciousness changes. Now you're higher than what they are. Bye. We're on another bandwidth channel than they are. They don't operate on the same radio station that we do. They can't run it. They can't tune their way there either. Because in order to be able to reach where we are, they got to be running at the same speed we are. They can't ever get to that speed, which means they can't ever acquire that much knowledge that doesn't exist yet for them, which means they can't open our mail. And that's what they try to do, open our mail. How did we get there? Because they realize they're a predator. So if they could conquer the whole universe, they would. That's the nature of the problem, okay? That's why we didn't graduate as many students as we would have liked to. That is normal. when you think of the speed of the learning through others that run a love vibration. You begin to learn the underlying math and physics upon which the cosmos is founded upon. They don't want you to know that either. That's why they're put into their schools, not our schools. So, I already covered the sheeple brain, right? Oh, iridology, your eyeballs. When you look into the mirror, you can see how much parasites are living in your body by how much yellow you have outside the pupil. So if they're clear and you can see all the clear lines of the colors, known as iridology, then you know you're a good job of getting rid of all the parasites, because the parasites will communicate with you to say, hey, keep feeding me. So a lot of times you don't know the difference between your own thoughts and what it's trying to tell you, communicating with you in waveform. Parasites communicate in waveform vibration. Feed me. What was the last thing? The benefit of the salt crystal. Again, salt carries electrons. If you get yourself some Salmiak, Salmiak, that would be cool. That'll help clean you out. Because what does that do? That gets rid of the metadata, the toxic metadata, which means the data that you're picking up, which represents low-density consciousness. The low-density consciousness is in your energy field. And if you've consumed things by people that have low-density consciousness, that means that communication of that waveform that is in your energy field represents electrical resistance, so you got to kick it out. And the easiest way to kick out metadata, because you have several discharge points in your energy field in which to get rid of toxic data. And that is through your exhalation, which is a toxic waste, which is carbon dioxide. Then you have perspiration. Then you have urination. And then you have defecation. So obviously what you defecate is metadata. That's the toxic waste you're getting rid of that your body has to process as a result of the toxic input of the data that you're picking up. That's why in this planet you realize that they poison the air, they poison the water, they poison the soil, they poison everything. So we're experiencing all that toxic input. Now your body's got to discharge it through the output. Okay? So that's why when you're running a hot unit, it allows you to be able to burn it all off. That maintains the purity of your spirit. Okay? That's what we want to keep, the purity of the spirit, which is the purity of the water, which is the purity of the air. Okay? Because we live in a spiritual world. Okay? So I'll leave you with that because I'm running out of memory. Okay? Now time.